I found myself inside the novel I just read, a dark romance, where I was the tragic supporting character. I came to the moment I was being viciously held down in the ocean by the manipulative male lead, a form of punishment. A transparent comment stream scrolled wildly across my vision. Here we go. Isn't it time for the pathetic simp to get on his knees and beg for forgiveness? Damn, how can he still not let her go after all this abuse? What a total doormat. Guess he'll only learn after they break his legs. Exactly, he deserves to have his legs broken and his kidney stolen for getting in the way of the main couple. But he wasn't the one who pushed the guy in the water, or staged the kidnapping, or stole the company's secrets. Ugh. This is so brutal. Is it really okay for the male lead to be this evil, framing him for everything? I stared at the live feed, stunned. My legs are going to be broken, and my kidney stolen? I struggled to look around. I saw the male lead's vicious grin and the female lead's cold indifference. Surrounding them were 7 or 8 stone-faced bodyguards. Shit, there was no escaping this. Gritting my teeth, I suddenly wrenched my arm free from the man's grasp. With a loud splash, I plunged into the sea and vanished without a trace. The moment I opened my eyes, a cold voice cut through the air. Connor, didn't I tell you? If you just behaved yourself, I wouldn't touch your status as my fiancé. A man with a pretty boy face, soaked to the bone, started crying. Claire, I don't know what I did wrong. To make Connor hate me so much, trying to kill me over and over. The impeccably dressed, aloof woman's eyes filled with pity as she pulled the pretty boy into her arms. Ethan, you're the kindest person in the world, she soothed. It's my fault. I've been too lenient with him, and that's why he keeps doing things to hurt you. Don't worry, she promised, her voice turning to ice. I won't let him get away with it this time. Turning to her bodyguards, she commanded, drag Connor to the shore. I want him to know what it feels like to drown. I was still in a daze, completely clueless about what was happening. All I knew was that the names they were using sounded eerily familiar. Before I could process it, several bodyguards had dragged me onto a jagged rock by the ocean's edge. Claire Summers turned her gaze back to Ethan Vance, her tone softening. Ethan, this time, you can punish him yourself. Push his head into the water. You can let him go when he finally admits he was wrong. A malicious whisper hissed in my ear. You pathetic simp. This is what you get for trying to take my woman. Splash. My entire head was forced underwater. The shock of the frigid seawater jolted me, and my mind cleared instantly. Connor, Ethan, Claire, I suddenly remembered the dark romance novel I had just finished reading. Holy shit, I've been pulled into the book, and I was now Connor Hayes, the story's ultimate doormat. In the novel, the female lead, Claire, is engaged to the supporting character, Connor. But the manipulative and villainous male lead, Ethan Vance, is her childhood friend. On the day Ethan returned from abroad, Claire threw him a massive welcome home party. The two of them drank a toast, arms linked, right in front of Connor. Connor, furious, stormed out. Ethan quickly played the victim, chasing after him. Then, in front of Connor, he slapped himself hard across the face. He ran back to the party with a swollen, red cheek, sobbing and twisting the story. He claimed he had tried to apologize to Connor, only to be assaulted. Claire exploded. Without a second thought, she had her bodyguards hold Connor down while she slapped him 99 times in return. But Connor was a hopeless simp. No matter how much she abused him, he was still deeply in love with Claire Summers, completely devoted to her. He held on, desperately waiting for the day she would see Ethan's true colors and come back to him. Later, Ethan became Claire's assistant. He staged his own kidnapping and framed Connor for it. As punishment, Connor was locked in a basement for 3 days and 3 nights without a drop of water. When he was finally released, he was on the verge of death. Next, Ethan leaked corporate secrets and framed Connor again. Connor was arrested and thrown in a holding cell, where he was brutalized by other inmates. He was released a month later due to a lack of evidence, his body covered in wounds. This time, the company had organized a team-building trip to a coastal resort. Ethan threw himself into the ocean and blamed Connor for pushing him. Connor, held underwater, refused to confess to something he didn't do. As a result, he was nearly drowned and then had one of his legs broken to atone for his crime. Finally, Ethan developed kidney failure. Claire, without hesitation, forced Connor to donate one of his kidneys. Connor lay in a hospital bed for 2 weeks, and Claire never once came to visit. That was the final straw. The obsessive simp, Connor Hayes, finally lost all hope and chose to let go. He quietly vanished from her life. In the end, the blissfully ignorant female lead and the villainous male lead got their happy ending. What the hell? Who writes this kind of garbage? I had been cursing out the author just moments ago. I never thought I'd be thrown into the story as that poor bastard. Now I was the one being held underwater, struggling for my life. The live feed in front of my eyes exploded with comments. Here it is. Time for the simp to get on his knees and beg. Damn, he's still clinging to her after all this? Just let her go. Definitely a lost cause. He deserves to have his legs broken. Totally. He's standing in the way of the main characters. Getting his legs broken and his kidney stolen is exactly what he gets. But he didn't do any of it. Not the kidnapping, not the corporate espionage, not pushing him in the water. The male lead is a straight-up villain, framing him like this. Is that supposed to be romantic? Get that last commenter out of here. If the simp had just let go, would Ethan have needed to resort to these tactics? Exactly. Our boy Ethan is just smart and resourceful. Love him. Reading the comments, I saw my future flash before my eyes. My leg's broken, my kidney stolen. Fuck that. I'll just fake my own death and see how you two play this game. I fought my way to the surface, gasping for a huge breath of air. With a final, desperate surge of strength, I broke free from Ethan's grip. With a loud splash, I dove deep into the churning water and disappeared. The live feed paused for 3 seconds, then erupted. WTF just happened? That's not in the script. Get the writer out here. Wait, did the male lead just push him under? Holy shit, he's so screwed now. I think I remember the book saying Connor can't swim. The waves are huge right now. Isn't he a goner for sure? Ethan totally screwed up. How is the story supposed to continue now? It's completely derailed. On the shore, everyone was frozen in shock. Claire Summers's eyes instantly turned red. She knew Connor couldn't swim. She had only wanted to teach him a lesson, to stop him from being so jealous and targeting Ethan. She never wanted him dead. Stumbling, she ran to the edge of the water, staring out at the turbulent sea. Her voice, thick with tears, cracked as she yelled at her bodyguards. Quick, call for help. Call an ambulance. Call the Coast Guard. The bodyguards, realizing the gravity of the situation, sprang into action. 3 or 4 who could swim started searching along the rocky coastline. The others frantically made emergency calls. The shore descended into chaos. Ethan's face was pale as he scrambled to defend himself, his voice shaking. Claire, don't misunderstand. I didn't push him. He jumped at himself. He must be trying to get your sympathy. He's trying to frame me. Claire whipped her head around to face him. The usual affection in her eyes was gone, replaced by a chilling coldness. Ethan Vance, shut your mouth. Ethan froze. It was the first time Claire had ever spoken to him so harshly. In an instant, hatred coiled in his gut. He couldn't believe she would scold him for that pathetic simp. Damn it. He had used every trick in the book and was so close to winning her over completely. He wasn't about to let it all fall apart now. He quickly reached for her arm. Claire, listen to me. It's not what you think. Don't touch me. Claire violently threw his hand off. The force was so strong that Ethan staggered backward. In a flash, Ethan's eyes reddened. Fat tears rolled down his cheeks as he put on a heart-wrenching expression of despair. Claire, I know nothing I say matters anymore. If you don't believe me, then there's no point in me living. If you really think I pushed him, then I'll jump in right now and join him. Without waiting for a response, he threw himself off the rocks. 5. Claire panicked, lunging forward and grabbing his arm. Ethan, I was wrong. I believe you. Just don't let go. Her own arm scraped against the sharp edge of the rock, and blood began to pour from a gash. Her face went pale with pain, but she held on tight. The bodyguards saw what was happening and abandoned their search, rushing over to help. Working together, they managed to haul a pathetic-looking Ethan back onto the rocks. Claire was overwhelmed with relief and pulled him into a fierce hug, as if he would disappear the second she let go. Ethan, nestled in her embrace, kept his eyes red and teary, looking like he had suffered a terrible injustice. He looked at the wound on her arm, his expression full of self-blame. Claire, your arm. It's all my fault. If I hadn't been so impulsive, you wouldn't have gotten hurt. Claire just held him tighter, her voice trembling with lingering fear. It's not your fault. It's my fault. I never should have doubted you. A triumphant glint finally appeared in Ethan's eyes. The live feed went insane. Holy shit, his acting is incredible. How did that work? This guy's performance is off the charts. I bowed down. He's wasting his talent not being in Hollywood. I love him so much. That face, that talent, I'm sold. I was here to ship the main couple. And I almost thought the plot was ruined. Phew, I'm so moved I could cry. Ugh, that supporting character is so toxic. Almost screwed over the male lead, even as he was checking out. Hold on, the guy clearly just committed murder. Shouldn't someone call the cops? And this asshole is the male lead. Get that commenter out of here. If the simp hadn't been clinging to the female lead, would Ethan have had to do this? Exactly. He's just protecting the woman he loves. What's wrong with that? LL. Framing, manipulation, murder. That's your male lead. He's clearly a toxic, manipulative piece of trash. I thought I was the only one who thought the male lead was a problem. Finally found my people. What kind of brain-dead idiot wrote this plot? It's completely warped. The angle where Connor fell was a blind spot. Maybe Ethan really didn't push him. Claire believes him. So why are you all complaining? Get a life. 6. I had already climbed ashore near a different set of reefs. The original Connor couldn't swim, but I grew up by the ocean. A few small waves were nothing to me. The live feed exploded again. Wait, what the hell? The simp isn't dead? WTF? What is this plot twist? I thought he couldn't swim. Can someone please explain? Is this a fake-out death? Does he even have the brains for that? What do you guys know? Ethan still needs a kidney transplant. How's that supposed to happen if the simp is actually dead? I ignored the comments. But thanks to the non-stop stream, I was kept up to date on what was happening back on the shore. I couldn't believe it. My carefully crafted scene to make it look like Ethan pushed me had failed. Claire actually believed Ethan was innocent. Suddenly, I felt a surge of indignation for the original Connor. From college to the corporate world, he had been Claire's doormat for 7 years, always putting her first. Claire was the untouchable ice queen of their university. Connor fell for her at first sight and began a relentless pursuit. He showered her with gifts. He played guitar and sang love songs under her dorm window. For her birthday, he nearly bought out the entire city's supply of fireworks just for her. One time, Claire got seriously ill. To help her recover, Connor went to a famous mountain monastery and, starting from the base, performed a full prostration every 3 steps all the way to the top, just to pray for her. The story was posted online and went viral, with everyone marveling at his devotion. Despite all this, Claire never agreed to be with him. Until one day, a business rival, ruined by the Summers family, came for revenge. He cornered Claire in a dead-end alley with a knife. Just as he was tearing at her clothes, Connor appeared out of nowhere and fought him off, saving her. In the struggle, Connor was stabbed. Claire held him, her face stained with tears as she tried to stop the bleeding. He was rushed to the hospital. Luckily, the blade missed any vital organs, but he was laid up for weeks. Claire stayed by his side the entire time. Their relationship deepened, and they finally got together. The first time they slept together, Claire held him tightly. With tears in her eyes, she told him he was her savior and that she would never leave him. Who knew that 7 years of devotion would become a joke the day Ethan Vance came back to town? 7. I slowly pushed those thoughts away and took out my phone. Thank God it was waterproof and still worked. I scrolled through my contacts and dialed Chloe Winter's number. An hour later, a Maserati screeched to a halt beside me. A stunning woman, even more beautiful than Claire Summers, stepped out. Her long, perfectly shaped legs could put a supermodel to shame. Before I was pulled into this world, the original Connor had already been beaten up by Claire's bodyguards. And just now, climbing up the rocks, I had gashed my leg, which was still bleeding. I looked like a complete wreck. When Chloe saw me, covered in injuries, her face crumpled and tears streamed down her cheeks. She threw herself into my arms, hugging me so tightly it made me wince in pain. What happened? Was it that bitch Claire Summers? Damn it, I'm going to kill her. Without saying a word, I leaned in and pressed my lips against hers. Chloe's eyes flew open, wide with disbelief. Then, Her shock slowly melted into a fiery passion. She began to kiss me back, fiercely. The live feed went wild. Could someone please tell me what the FUCK is going on? You damn simp. Stop that right now. You're only allowed to simp for our Claire. Connor, you cheater. Holy shit. What kind of divine script is this? This is insane. Haha, this is more like it. This woman is way better than that bitchy female lead. Has the simp finally woken up? It's about time. Let the main couple, that trashy girl and that manipulative snake, be toxic together and leave him alone. 8. Chloe and I went back to her villa. A blush still lingered on her cheeks, and she avoided my gaze. I sat down on the sofa and pulled her into my lap with a motion that made her yelp in surprise. Her face turned an even deeper shade of red, and her body tensed up, unsure of what I was about to do. Gently stroking her long, silky hair, I whispered into her ear, Chloe, I'm sorry. I was an idiot before, a terrible judge of character. I promise I'll never make you sad again. Chloe's body instantly relaxed. She wrapped her arms around me, tears welling up in her eyes as she nodded emphatically. I believe you, Connor. Since I had taken over the original Connor's body, I was determined to write a different ending. I had to make that despicable pair pay. In the original story, Winters Corp went to war with Summers Corp. Although Winters Corp ended up bankrupt, Summers Corp took a massive hit. But with me in the picture, things would be different. The original Connor's parents had died in a plane crash, leaving him a $200 million inheritance. On top of that, he had worked as a vice president at Summers Corp for 3 years. He knew all their secrets. Let's see how Claire Summers handles this. Chloe, I'm injecting my $200 million into your company. There are a few major projects coming up that I'll tell you about. We have to secure them before Summers Corp does. These projects were crucial investments that were meant to launch Summers Corp onto the international stage. According to the timeline, Claire hadn't even started negotiations yet. Now was the perfect time to strike. Also, find me the best private investigators you can. I need to gather some evidence. Of course, Connor. I'll do whatever you say. The comment stream kept rolling. What does he mean by that? Wait, hold on. Can someone explain what's happening? Did they get the wrong script? Well, why shit? Is this turning into a revenge story? Huh? LOL. He thinks he can rewrite his fate of being burned alive. Pathetic. Exactly. As if he could get revenge on the main couple. You should take a look in the mirror. Haha, here we go. The simp has finally awakened. I can't wait to see this. 9. For the past few weeks, Claire Summers had been getting blackout drunk at bars almost every night. She couldn't stand going back to that empty house, a villa filled with Connor's presence, but devoid of any warmth. It felt like if she just closed her eyes, she would see him there, and she'd remember their nights tangled together. Connor's death had affected her deeply. After all, they had lived together for 7 years. To say she felt nothing for him was a lie, she told herself. It felt as though a piece of her heart had been carved out. Tonight, in a private room at a club, her friends had already given up and gone home, leaving only her and Ethan. Claire was very drunk, lounging languidly on the sofa with her hand on her forehead, her eyes hazy. Her mature, sensual figure was on full display for Ethan. His gaze turned feverish. He had craved Claire's body for a long time. Now that the eyesore Connor was dead, nothing stood in his way. And this was the perfect opportunity. With that thought, Ethan adjusted his glasses and slid onto the sofa next to her, pulling her into his arms. Claire's hands instinctively wrapped around his neck. Ethan was ecstatic and was about to make his next move when Claire murmured playfully, Connor, are you here to take me home? I haven't seen you in so long. Where did you go? Honey, are you still mad at me? I was wrong. Please come back, okay? Ethan's movements froze. His expression slowly twisted into one of resentment. Gritting his teeth, his hand was about to slip inside her collar when Claire grabbed his wrist. What do you think you're doing? Her eyes snapped open, and she shoved them away, sobering up instantly. Ethan's eyes filled with hurt, looking utterly pitiful. Claire, you know how I feel about you. He wouldn't give up and tried to embrace her again, but she sidestepped him. She stared at his face, unable to shake the image of him pushing Connor into the sea. The scene replayed in her mind over and over. Her expression darkened. Ethan, I think we both need some space. With that, She grabbed her purse and walked out, leaving him with nothing but her resolute back. The live feed went off. Can someone tell me what happened? I had my pants down and everything, and you give me this? I thought we were finally getting the big scene. That's it. Get the writer out here. The plot is broken. Wow, this simp is a master manipulator. His fake death has already driven a wedge between the main couple. My OTP, how am I supposed to ship them with this storyline? An hour later, Claire returned to the villa. As she stepped inside, the house was empty and cold. The one light that, no matter how late, had always been left on for her, was dark. It hadn't been on for a long time. On impulse, she dialed Connor's number. Unsurprisingly, there was no answer. Just then, an unknown number sent her a message with more than a dozen photos. Claire's pupils contracted. The photos were all screen grabs from security footage. The man in them was clearly Ethan Vance. The other man was one of the kidnappers from his staged abduction, the one who had supposedly escaped. The footage showed Ethan and the kidnapper looking very familiar with each other, eating together, shaking hands, slinging arms over each other's shoulders. They were obviously old friends. It hit Claire in an instant. The kidnapping was a complete sham, a setup orchestrated by Ethan himself. And yet, he had claimed the kidnapper was an associate of Connor's. She had been the one to lock Connor in the basement for that. 3 days and nights without water. He almost died. Whoa, look, the female lead's face is as dark as the bottom of a pot. It's over, it's over. She knows the truth now. Was she supposed to be kept in the dark forever? The plot has completely changed now. The male lead's devoted persona is shattered. No, I can't ship my OTP anymore. That toxic simp, sending anonymous photos to stir up trouble. Bastard. Claire, wake up. This is all part of the evil supporting character's plan. No, you guys wake up. The male lead is a piece of trash, manipulative, and cruel. A guy like that deserves to be the lead? LOL. The supporting character is the only sane one here. I love it. A sweet romance turned into a revenge thriller. This move by Connor is brilliant. Can't wait for the main couple to implode, huh? Seeing these comments, I smiled to myself. These photos were just the hook. The rest of the truth was something Claire had to uncover herself. After all, people tend to believe what they find on their own. Chloe, completely naked, was curled up against me like a kitten. She looked up at me. Connor, you have such a devious smile. What are you thinking about? This girl had developed quite an appetite, wanting to stick to me 24/7. I grinned and gave her smooth, pale thigh a playful squeeze. Why don't you guess what I'm thinking? Her face flushed, and she bit her lip, shooting me a sultry look. Oof. Men, this time I'm on top. Claire couldn't believe it. The one yelling, thief, Ethan, was the mastermind behind the kidnapping. She tried calling the unknown number back, but it was disconnected. Frustrated, she called the private investigator her company frequently used. The call connected quickly. Claire's voice was ice cold, laced with suppressed fury. I want you to find out everything Ethan Vance has been up to since he returned to the country. I want answers in 3 days. After hanging up, the thought that Connor might have been deliberately pushed into the ocean by Ethan, that he had wanted Connor dead, made her tremble with rage. At that moment, she finally saw things clearly. Looking back at the time since Ethan's return, almost every single one of her blowout fights with Connor had been because of him. The next 3 days were agonizing for Claire. She had no interest in work and locked herself in her house. Ethan called and texted constantly, but she ignored him. On the 3rd day, the PI hadn't called back yet, but Ethan showed up at her door. He was shocked when he saw how haggard she looked, his eyes filled with concern. Claire, what's wrong? You haven't been to the office, and you're not answering my calls. Do you know how worried I've been? Claire looked up at him, her eyes bloodshot, her voice hoarse. I'm fine. Ethan walked in as if he owned the place, closing the door behind him. Just as they sat down on the sofa, Claire's phone rang. It was the private investigator. The results were in. Claire's expression hardened. She shot Ethan a complicated look before walking into her study to take the call. Talk. I've finished the investigation into Ethan Vance. His hands aren't clean. He's been making a lot of moves since he got back, all of them targeting your fiancé, Connor Hayes. I'm sending you all the surveillance files now. Soon, Claire received the evidence from a PI. As she looked through the surveillance screenshots and video clips, she nearly ground her teeth to dust. The day Ethan returned, he slapped himself and framed Connor for it. As punishment, Connor received 99 slaps. Ethan staged his own kidnapping. Connor was locked in the basement for 3 days and 3 nights without water and was nearly dead when he was released. The evidence also included surveillance footage of Ethan meeting with a rival company. Without a doubt, he was the one who had sold company secrets, causing massive losses. And yet, Connor was the one who took the fall, thrown into a holding cell with violent criminals. He came out with 3 broken ribs. And this time, Ethan had been even more brazen, pushing Connor into the sea right in front of her. How laughable. She had actually believed his lies, thinking Connor had simply fallen by accident. She remembered the 7 years of Connor's unwavering care. She remembered that dead-end alley, when she was at her most desperate, and how he had risked his life to save her. But the man who had loved her with every fiber of his being was dead, killed at the hands of Ethan Vance. Claire's face was ashen. She trembled violently, her eyes a web of red veins. Ethan Vance, you really are something else. The live feed scrolled furiously. It's over. The male lead has been exposed. Look at her eyes. She looks terrifying. Claire, wake up. This is all the supporting character's plan. This is completely out of control. The female lead is about to go on a rampage. Ethan, get out of there. It's not too late. This is making me so anxious. Holy shit. The simp faked his death and used it as bait to make the main couple destroy each other. This is a god-tier move. I'm with the simp on this one. This trashy romance just turned into a revenge thriller. I kneel. Claire looks so scary. You need to calm down. Claire made a quick call to her bodyguards before walking out of the study. In the living room, Ethan was still oblivious, but when he saw the dark, menacing look in her eyes, he flinched. Was that killing intent? He felt a knot of confusion. What had he done wrong? Was it because he'd been too hasty at the club the other night? By now, Claire was standing before him, her eyes like ice, her expression frozen. She looked down at him, her presence overwhelmingly oppressive. Ethan's heart hammered at his chest. He tried to feel out the situation. I know Connor's death has been hard on you, but you need to let go of the past and cherish the present. Cherish the person right in front of you. A cold smirk touched Claire's lips. You're right, Ethan, she said through clenched teeth. I should cherish the person right in front of me. Do you really love me? Ethan's eyes lit up, and he nodded eagerly. Claire, you know how I feel, don't you? I'd do anything to be with you. Claire's face contorted with rage, and she slapped him hard across the face. So that was your plan all along. Framing Connor just so you could have me, she roared. Ethan Vance, you've got some nerve. Ethan clutched his swollen cheek, his eyes shimmering with tears as he put on his most pitiful act. He quickly tried to deny it. Claire, what are you talking about? Why would I frame Connor? If she hadn't already seen the proof of what he truly was, she might have fallen for his manipulative act again. Thinking of him pushing Connor into the sea, Claire wanted nothing more than to tear him limb from limb. Just then, 7 or 8 bodyguards entered the room. A cruel glint flashed in Claire's eyes. Hold him down. Every bit of pain Connor suffered, he's going to feel it too. Start with 99 slaps, then break 3 of his ribs. After that, throw him in the basement. Within seconds, Ethan was pinned down, unable to move. The color drained from his face. He finally started to panic. Claire, are you crazy? It's me, Ethan. Claire, I didn't frame Connor. I swear. You have to believe me. How could I do something like that? You know I wouldn't even hurt a fly. Claire gritted her teeth and brought her stiletto heel down hard on his hand, grinding it back and forth. Ethan let out a blood-curdling scream. The back of his hand was instantly a mess of blood and torn flesh. Wouldn't hurt a fly, Claire sneered, shoving her phone in his face. When Ethan saw the evidence, his pupils shrank. A strangled, gasping sound escaped his throat. No, that's fake. Someone must have doctored it to frame me. Claire, you have to believe me. Claire had run out of patience. Hit him, she commanded coldly. Let go of me. Ethan struggled violently, but it was useless. Claire, I was wrong. I was wrong. Please, let me go. The live feed went crazy. Claire, stop. This is all the evil Simp's plan. Yeah, he only did it because he loves you. Forgive him. This is sick. I came here to ship a couple, not watch a horror movie. Calm down. It's over. It's over. Barbecue is over. The male lead is toast. Ethan, run. Looks like he's not getting away. A trashy romance turns into a revenge thriller. I'm here for it. This is exactly what he deserves. Haha. Damn. That manipulative snake has it coming. Just because he's handsome doesn't make him the hero. He's just a pretty boy sociopath. The head of security slapped Ethan hard across the face and followed it with a kick. Stay still, or it'll be worse for you. The blow left Ethan's head ringing, and with that first slap, his punishment began. The sharp cracks of palms hitting flesh echoed through the room, one after another, as the 8 bodyguards took turns. He lost count of how many times he was hit, but it was definitely no less than 99. His handsome face was swollen into a bloody, unrecognizable pulp. He passed out. Then they broke several of his ribs, at least 3. 3 days later, when Ethan was dragged out of the basement, he was barely human. He stank of filth, his breathing was shallow, and he was clinging to life by a thread. Without immediate medical attention, he wouldn't last much longer. He was shoved into a van and driven to the same spot where Connor had fallen into the sea. Suddenly, as if a final surge of life was coursing through him, Ethan regained consciousness. He fell to his knees with a thud and began banging his head on the ground, begging the cold, emotionless Claire for mercy. Claire, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please, take me to a hospital, please. I shouldn't have framed Connor. I'm sorry. Please spare me. His head hit the hard rock with sickening thuds, and his forehead was quickly covered in blood. Claire, I'm so sorry. It wasn't me who pushed him, Claire. At this point, Claire didn't believe a single word that came out of his mouth. Ethan looked up, tears mixing with the blood on his face. Claire's eyes were filled with a crazed light. Ethan Vance, I told you. Every single thing Connor suffered, you won't escape any of it. Throw him in. Ethan's hope completely vanished. He suddenly started laughing, a wild, unhinged sound. Claire Summers, he roared, baring his teeth. You think you're blameless in this. You believed every word I said. It was your indulgence, your stupidity, that killed Connor. The slaps, the basement, the holding cell, even pushing him into the sea. Weren't you the one who gave every single order? You're just as much of a murderer as I am. So don't you dare pretend you're some righteous saint. Claire Summers, you bitch, you can go to hell. Ethan's words were like a sharp dagger, twisting into the wound she had tried so desperately to hide. He was right. If it hadn't been for her stupidity and her willingness to believe him, Connor never would have suffered so much. He never would have been pushed into the cold ocean to die. You think what you're doing now is for Connor's revenge? Ethan laughed even more maniacally. You're just trying to make yourself feel better. You don't have the guts to admit that you hurt him just as much as I did, if not more. Claire swayed on her feet. She could almost see the look of humiliation in Connor's eyes as he was slapped. She could see his weak, broken form when he was released from the holding cell. She could see that final, desperate glance as he was pushed into the sea. Those images were like knives stabbing into her heart, making it hard to breathe. Throw him in, Claire said, closing her eyes. When she opened them again, they were empty, filled with an endless void. WDF, Claire, wake up, what are you doing? Calm down, Claire. This is a society with laws. It's really over. The plot is completely off the rails. The female lead has lost her mind. Is she really going to kill him? The plot is going sideways, and it's getting better and better. I'm hooked. Ethan was still screaming wildly. Claire Summers, you'll get what's coming to you. You killed Connor with your own hands. You'll live with the guilt for the rest of your life. He was forced into a burlap sack, and several large rocks were thrown in with him. Splash. Ethan was tossed into the sea, disappearing without a trace. The location was remote. Few people ever came here. Claire had her bodyguards erase all evidence before they left. In the weeks that followed, Summers Corp ran into serious trouble. A major strategic partnership they had bet everything on was snatched away at the last minute by Winters Corp. Compounded by the fact that Claire had been completely neglecting the company, their performance plummeted. The company's stock went into a free fall, hitting the limit down day after day. I knew Summers Corp inside and out. All it took was a little push from behind the scenes. The company was thrown into a severe financial crisis. News of their broken supply chain spread like wildfire. Suppliers panicked. Creditors swarmed the Summers Corp headquarters, blocking the entrance and demanding immediate payment. Claire was overwhelmed, drowning in the chaos. But it didn't end there. Someone leaked a story online, complete with photos, accusing Claire of having a debauched personal life, allowing her lover to steal company secrets, and then viciously framing her own fiancé to cover it up. Her intimate photos with Ethan, along with the surveillance footage of him framing me, went viral. The internet erupted. Countless users flooded the Summers Corp website with insults and threats. Business partners who were already disappointed now lost all faith in the company. After struggling for less than 3 months, Summers Corp declared bankruptcy. Claire couldn't understand how, in such a short time, she had gone from a high-flying CEO to a disgraced woman who had lost everything and was saddled with mountains of debt. She felt an invisible hand manipulating everything, seemingly determined to destroy her. She spent a fortune trying to find out who was behind it all, but came up with nothing. A deep sense of powerlessness and despair washed over her. One day, as she was walking down the street with nothing left to her name, a silver sedan sped towards her. There was a deafening crash. Claire was thrown more than 30 feet, landing hard on the pavement. She heard the sound of her own bones shattering, like the porcelain vase she had broken as a child. Warm blood trickled down from her forehead, blurring her vision. Through the crimson haze, she saw the horrified, screaming faces of the onlookers. Someone was holding up a phone, taking pictures. Someone else was shouting about calling 911. The sounds were distant, as if they were coming from another world. 17. Claire Summers didn't die. She was disfigured and paralyzed from the waist down. She would spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. This was my ex-fiancée, after all. I had to pay her a visit. When Claire saw me, her bloodshot eyes were filled with utter disbelief, which quickly turned to agony and remorse. She tried to sit up and reach for me, but cried out in pain. Am I dreaming? Connor, you're not dead. You're really not dead. Thank God. Tears streamed down her face. Connor, I'm so sorry. I didn't know Ethan was framing you for all those things. I already made him pay the price. Connor, can you forgive me? I truly know I was wrong. Please come back to me. I only have you now. A cold, mocking smile played on my lips. Claire, you were the one who ordered them to slap me 99 times, to lock me in the basement, to get me thrown in a holding cell, and even to push me into the ocean. Weren't those all your commands? And now you say you didn't know? You push all the blame onto Ethan and wash your hands of it completely. How can you be so shameless? Claire's face went white. She shook her head desperately, her voice pleading. Connor, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. I'll do anything to make it up to you. As long as you come back, I'll do whatever you want. I looked up, my eyes dripping with scorn. It seems the doctors haven't told you the full story. You're bankrupt. You have mountains of debt to repay. And now you're disfigured and paralyzed. Who do you think would want a useless wreck like you? What could you possibly use to make it up to me? Your words. My words were like a dull, rusty knife, sawing back and forth across her heart. Claire's eyes widened in horror. Her attention finally shifted to the lower half of her body, which she couldn't feel at all. No, that's impossible. A choked gasp escaped her throat. Her hands flew to her face, fumbling at the bandages. When her fingertips touched the mangled wounds beneath, she let out a gut-wrenching scream. My face, my legs. I watched her agony with cold detachment. A deep sense of satisfaction settled over me. But I decided to add a little more fuel to the fire. Claire, do you remember who sent you those surveillance screenshots of Ethan framing me 3 months ago? Claire's eyes were wild and red as she stared at me. In that instant, everything clicked into place. It was you. 18. I nodded, freely admitting it. It was me. I sent you the screenshots. I was the one who stole the strategic partnership you'd been planning for years. And I was the one who used public opinion to make sure the Summers family could never recover. Claire was losing her mind, her jaw clenched so tight it looked like it would break. The car crash. You arranged it. I laughed and shook my head. Now, let's not make wild accusations. I'm a law-abiding citizen. Why would I do something so illegal? I merely had someone secretly film you executing Ethan Vance and sent the footage to his parents. You know, he was their only child. There's nothing more tragic in this world than parents having to bury their own son. If they knew you were still alive, do you think they might come looking for you? Oh, and by the way, Ethan never pushed me into the sea. I jumped myself. Thanks to the live feed, I knew every move Claire made. I had arranged for someone to film the entire scene where she had Ethan put in a sack and thrown into the ocean, and I sent the video directly to his family. I thought they would go to the police. I didn't expect them to want revenge with their own hands. Even better, let Claire Summers live in fear for the rest of her life. Hearing my words, Claire's eyes looked as if they would pop out of her head. She completely snapped, her gaze filled with a murderous hatred as she started screaming. Connor, you faked your death to deceive me. You are heartless. You plotted against me, made me lose everything. You're a monster. I'm going to kill you. I'll haunt you even as a ghost. Claire's shrieks echoed through the hospital room. She thrashed on the bed like a dying fish. Doctors rushed in and restrained her. The live feed exploded. Oh my God, this adaptation is divine. The simp used the female lead to kill the male lead, then used the male lead's parents to finish off the female lead. This is next-level strategy. Holy shit. Holy shit. This is legendary. I kneel. The supporting character clawed his way into becoming the hero of a revenge thriller. This is awesome. The most badass supporting character in history, playing the main characters like puppets. The main couple get a bad end. The supporting couple gets a happy end. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. 666. The end. Mic drop. That was so damn satisfying. I stopped paying attention to the comments. It was all getting boring. Later, Chloe and I started our wonderful life together. As for Claire, her will to live was surprisingly strong. To avoid further retaliation from Ethan's family, she turned herself into the police. Good. Let her spend the rest of her life rotting in a prison cell, reflecting on her sins. And maybe, when I'm in a bad mood, I'll go visit her. Nice. Yendi.